Thanks everyone for joining my DynamicsCon session. My name is Chad Althaus. I'm a senior consultant at Stone Ridge Software, and I want to thank you Dynamics user group for everything that you're doing to make this event possible, and all the fabulous sponsors as well. So today we're talking about customer voice, one survey to rule them all. So this is talking about a specific use case with scaling customer voice and keeping a single survey to make things easier for you. This is me. This is my wife, Rachel, and my son, Hudson. We have a lot of fun. They're very supportive of me and my community efforts. I'm grateful for that. So like I said, I'm senior consultant at Stone Ridge Software, previously worked as an end user. I live in Houston. I've got a passion for Dynamics and Power Platform. I love both of those and bring them together. And my background is actually mechanical engineering. And I worked in a manufacturing company operations before this. I help lead the user group in Houston for Dynamics, used to be CRM user group. You can find me on social media, Chad Althaus, pretty easy to find. Got a blog as well. And today we're going to be talking about, like I said, customer voice. Want to get you familiarized with this, and then also show you a specific use case that I have found very helpful to be able to manage lots of data in a single survey. All right, so the agenda, we're going to get started. We're going to distribute a survey, and then we're going to visualize the results. All right, customer voice. What is customer voice? It's a scalable feedback management solution. It's built on Microsoft Forms, and it's used to track metrics that matter. And so this is actually an add-on product for Dynamics. You can use it separate. You don't have to have a Dynamics license to buy this, but it integrates very nicely. All right, some of the core principles, just laying the groundwork. A project is a container of related surveys. Insights are actually provided across related surveys within that project, which is helpful. A survey is with a list of questions that you're actually asking for the customer to complete. And then variables are a component that allows you to personalize surveys for the customer, makes them feel like it's really theirs. And then another principle, all the data here is stored in the Dataverse itself. That's the database behind Dynamics, if you're not familiar. And that's very relevant, as I'll show you in a little bit. All right, I want to make the case for a single survey. So you can create multiple surveys within a single project, but you have to repeat the questions, recreate all the same questions that you want completed. If you're going to send to, you've got a US version of the survey and a Europe version of the survey, then you have to recreate all of those questions on every instance of that survey, or Office A and Office B, and you want to be able to categorize and attribute the results to the proper location. You could do that by creating multiple surveys. But there's a better way, and that's what I want to put forward today. You can use variables to segregate that data with a single survey. It makes it easy to maintain. It makes it a single source of the questions that you have to manage, and the customizations are shared. Their responses are also easily reviewed in a single place. There are some limitations, such as you can't have unique branding for each office or company. You have some limitations like that. All right, let's do a walkthrough. First, we have to open customer voice. And so to do this, you can go to the direct URL, customervoice.microsoft.com, or you can navigate to office.com/apps. Look at in your full list of apps. It shows up there. When you log in, you'll see a blank slate like this. It says, hey, you want to create a new project? And you say yes. You can select from a set of surveys or a set of templates for the project. And so for this example, I selected the very first one. You'll see this is actually built on the Forrester customer experience best practices. And so it's got some out-of-the-box stuff that's going to give good value. You have to select which environment you want this to live in. Again, this is the Dataverse. You have to pick which Dataverse environment you want the results stored in. All right, once we do that, we get a generated template that's already ready to go. We can start using it right away. But if we want to, we can add some branding, some variables, do some extra stuff. So we want to walk through that. But first, just to familiarize yourself, over on the left, you've got the surveys that are in this project. Below that, you've got the different reports you can look at across all the surveys in the project. On the right, you've got that customize tab, little pop out. We'll look at that in just a moment. And then we are currently in the design tab. You can also go to the send tab. We'll have to do that in a demo in a few minutes. All right, let's jump into a demo. So we're going to have the rest of the presentation will be primarily demo based. So we're going to go into customer voice. I've done a little bit of personalization, given it some dynamics con flair. And you can see it's the same basic survey though. I didn't modify any of the questions, any of the core parts of the questions at least. And so we want to look at the customization pane over here first. We're going to go over to the right. You can look at satisfaction metrics. Again, I didn't modify this. So this is how it comes with this template. It's going to measure customer sentiment using AI based on this free-form text question down at the bottom. Additional feedback. So the customer is going to type whatever they type, and there's some AI model Microsoft is running to say, is it good or is it bad? And it actually gives you a score with that as well. The other customer satisfaction score is the CSAT, and this is the first question. Give it a 5-star rating. Out of 5 stars, how do they rate it? And you can also do a net promoter score, and you can do a custom one as well. Advanced logic, just wanted to point out, you can do some pretty complex branching and logic in here. That's far surpasses what you can do in Microsoft Forms. So if you're used to Forms and you've run into limitations, you might be able to do what you want here. Some other stuff you can do is, for example, the logic here. I've got simple logic, and I've got logic that shows the question as long as location code is not 100. That's the default value. So this question is skipped if we don't pass in a specific value. All right, personalization. This is that custom variable that I mentioned. So here, we've got first name, last name, locale, and company name. These are the 4 out-of-the-box variables that you typically get. You get on every survey that you make. And I've added location code and location name. And with these, I'm able to set the default value. So if I don't pass a variable definition to the survey, it'll show these, such as a generic URL that you have publicly available. We don't have any context for who is completing it. But if we can give that context, we can capture that information and make the survey custom. All right, languages. This is where you can add languages to actually translate the survey. And here, if we go to add translation for Mexico, you'll see here's the English text I had typed, and here's the Spanish text. Here's the Spanish text with the English text above. You just go through the whole survey and fill everything out and translate the whole survey like that. Do that for every language you want. Branding, you can change your theme color, your fonts. I've got, typically don't use Comic Sans, but for Dynamics Con, it seemed a little relevant. You can change your background image. This is what's behind the survey itself. And then formatting. You can do some formatting updates here as well. So let's go ahead and preview the survey. And this doesn't pass any of the variables in, but we can just see how it's going to look. So looks good to me. The next piece we want to jump into is distributing the survey. So I didn't change any of the questions, but we've got it customized to our liking. And now we want to send it out. There are 2 ways I'm going to cover here: custom links and Dataverse automation. And the custom links will allow us to do some cool things. What cool things, you might ask? We're going to come over here, close out of the customization. And instead of being in the design tab, let's go to the send tab. Oh, and another point here, with the variables, you'll see I added location name right here. And you do that by going to variables, and we can enter the things up here. So for example, add a location name, location code, location name. I can also put maybe first name and last name, right? And it'll use the default values if we won't pass anything. So valued customer. Let's go to the send tab. We want to generate this custom link. If we go to resend, automate, email, embed, QR code, and link. We want to use the link option for this exercise. This URL is generic. It won't track personal information. It looks like this. It's not passing any information, but you notice because the default value is 100, the first question is skipped. So it goes straight to question 2 as question 1. And we could fill this out if we wanted. So that doesn't track any information. It uses default values. But down here, this allows us to group responses by region, language, or other categories with a custom URL. So what I've done is I've done create a link. What variables do I want to pass to it? Location code, location name, can pass to locale as well. Locale is relevant for translating the email template that's used when it sends it, but it's not relevant here. So we don't have to worry about that. But here we could do, if we've got a new company, 200, and this is Contoso Dynamics Con. Then we can create this, and then we can see that right here. We're going to copy this and open a new window. Let's view it. Look up here, 200 Contoso Dynamics Con, valued customer. How would you rate your overall satisfaction with Dynamics Con? Give it 5 stars. We can choose some of these questions here. Give it all good ratings. Great support. Submit. So I just submitted results with a URL that was provided to me, and that URL automatically passed in Contoso Dynamics Con. So it was customized to look like the survey was meant for the specific Contoso Dynamics Con location. The customer doesn't know that this survey is also being used for all of these other locations, and the survey is customized for the location that I clicked that URL for. So a different URL is given to every location, and you could even put this in your email signatures in Dynamics or in Outlook. And that way, the customer service teams can gather that feedback on a regular basis from their customers as they feel led. So that's kind of the crux of the custom link. This is crazy powerful. You can do this with lots of other things, but I found the location, the specific office or location is just so helpful to be able to categorize it this way. Now the drawback with this, but let's look at the specific survey. And I can see all of this information, average of 3.8 stars, doing all right. Here's all of the different responses here, and latest responses in the sentiment feedback at the bottom. But we can't see the custom variables here. That's a drawback, that's a limitation. So if we're gonna do it in the way that I'm proposing, we have to go somewhere else to look at the breakdown by custom variable, by that location that we created. We're gonna move to the next piece, which is automation. After that, we'll look at the visualization. So we talked about custom links, and now we wanna go to automate. We're gonna go into the Dataverse, the customer service hub. I've got all of these internal accounts here. I would need to make a new one for the Contoso Dynamics Con. I don't have that. But you can see I've got the company code and the language here. And then the account name is the location name, obviously. And then for cases, if we go and look at one of these cases, I've got an account lookup for servicing location. The purpose here is we want to measure how the customer support is at this location. So this is the internal location providing this support, right? And I've got a little quick view form. This is information from Contoso Service US. Now, when the case is resolved, we want to send a survey through customer voice. We want to pass this information from this account lookup. So if we shift over to Power Automate, we can do that. I won't get into the details here, but when a case resolution is added, we're going to get the information for that case for the account lookup and the contact. That allows us to successfully fill in all of the information here for send a survey. So you'll see I've got the project, the survey, the email template, and email template is a native option in the send through email. You can construct your template here. It's very similar to a template you're used to in Dynamics, but it's a little bit fancier, more like a marketing email. And you can include the custom variables in here. So through Power Automate, we select those. Where do you want it regarding? Because essentially it's creating a customer voice survey invite record with this. And that is a record in the Dataverse just like any other. It's an activity. And we want to send it to the contact's email. First name, last name, we're passing from the contact. Language code from the account, the location code and name from the account as well, from that servicing location. So with that, we're able to create a survey invitation directly through a back-end process in Power Automate and pass all of that information. What that looks like is then if we go, I've run this already. I'm not going to wait for the flow to trigger here, but if we go to Adrian McMillan, I created a survey invite right here. This ran from the flow, and we can see it ran yesterday at 8:12. It's an activity in the timeline. If I click that, we'll see a native form for this activity record. And so this was generated through Power Automate when the case was resolved. You can see invitation source channel is Flow, Microsoft Flow, Power Automate, old terminology, but you can see that here. And it even has a lookup to this survey. So with all this data in the model-driven app, can we view the information that the customer sends back to us in an app as well? And we're gonna hop back here real quick to the slide deck, move into step 3, visualize results. And with this, model-driven app is the first thing I want to highlight. With this, I created a customer voice model-driven app. It has all the data that you would create and use through the customer voice app. And we've got all of these different things here. The thing I want to highlight is the customer voice survey responses. And if we go here, we can see all of the information that's captured, even the questions that are given, the satisfaction metrics, overall positive sentiment, and a 5-star CSAT. Here, context data. This is the embed context parameter stored as a JSON. So the next step we want to do, and I'll share this model-driven app so y'all can download this if you want, because it's quite helpful. But the next step we want to do is look at this data in Power BI, and we want to break this data down so we can actually look at visuals with it. And so we're going to jump into Power BI. You can see the output. I've got location name, the count of surveys by location. And so I've got 4 submissions from US, 2 from Germany, 1 from Mexico. And those are the custom values, either done through Power Automate or the custom links. So hopefully you can create better reports than I can, but that's the crux of how you put together a Power BI report with these variables. In summary, create projects and surveys, personalize them with custom variables, distribute them while setting those variables with custom links or emails through Power Automate, and look at the results in a model-driven app and in Power BI. That's all I've got, folks. I will be around for Q&A immediately following this. So thank you again to Dynamics User Group for putting this on. Thank you to all the sponsors, and I'll see you in a minute.
you're muted.
I'm muted. Classic.
I know.
So, hope everyone's doing well, enjoying DynamicsCon so far. Hopefully you learned something new. I've got with me Melissa. We're both from Stone Ridge.
Yeah, I'm here to help Chad. Chad, I didn't see a whole lot of questions added, but I was curious if you had any thoughts about the font chatter that was going on.
I know. Apparently Comic Sans is unique. I mean, I knew it was unique, but I didn't know zeros and L's or zeros and O's and things like that are all unique with Comic Sans. So
yeah, for sure. Looks like we might have one here. It's kind of a long one. With voice projects existing in each environment, when creating the Power Automation action, one of the gotchas I found is that you have to change that trigger each time you promote that to the next environment. I've used environment variables to address that. Do you have any other suggestions?
no, environment variables sound like the best option for sure. If you're referencing a specific ID, I wonder you might be able to import the project itself from one environment to another. I don't know, like not through the customer voice UI, you wouldn't be able to do that, but you might be able to import it from your test to your production environment using the classic Dataverse records, and that would solve it. But environment variable is a good solution.
Yeah, perfect. I see another one here. The model-driven app is a great idea. Wondered if you've attempted to add the customer voice elements to the D365 marketing app.
Yeah, you can definitely add them. I've added them to some custom model-driven apps. You can customize the marketing model-driven apps. You can definitely do that. And it's pretty simple. So you just have to go to the sitemap and modify that, and then search for all the customer voice records you want to add. There's a lot, and you probably don't care about too many, but you can definitely add those into the sitemap.
Perfect. Okay, popping in here. So do we have to go through Power Automate in order to get customer voice linked to our CRM client profile?
No. If you send it, I didn't cover this method, but just classic customer voice functionality, you can send the survey to contacts in the Dataverse. And so when you email it out through the email templates, without using Power Automate, you can do this, and you can just send it manually, but you can send it to contacts. And don't quote me on this, but I believe that because you're sending it to the contact, it does relate it to the contacts themselves. And that survey invite and survey response should both be visible on the contact record after the fact.
Perfect. All right, I got another one. We currently use click dimensions for our surveys, and one requirement we were given on a specific survey was to allow anonymous responses. Click dimensions doesn't allow this by default. Does customer voice allow anonymous responses?
100%. So you've got, just like in Microsoft Forms, it's built on that. You can allow anonymous responses or not. You have that kind of flexibility in the settings on customer voice. And with that, you can do that. So like those unique links that I generated, those don't require the contact to have any, they can be filled out anonymously, and we will still capture the information on those that we sent on the custom variables in that link, and they don't have to be tracked in any way. It's just an anonymous response.
Perfect. Another one just came in. Can customer voice reference a list created in D365 CRM/sales?
I think it can. I'm pretty sure. So when you send, well, definitely if you do it through Power Automate. If you're talking about a list of contacts, is that right, Jillian? I think that you can reference views when you're sending it just through the email, but you can for sure do that in Power Automate if you're creating it that way. Is that kind of what you were thinking, Jillian? Well,
see if we get a response.
Yeah, can correct if otherwise.
Well, I have a couple other ones, Chad, for you while we, oh, yes, like a marketing list.
Yeah, so I haven't tried, let's see. Because I'm pretty sure. Let's see. So in Power Automate, you could go and get that list. It'd be tricky. It's not going to be quite as straightforward as with the marketing list. So possible, but it's going to require some effort, unfortunately, from how I can think of doing it right now.
All right, we got another one. Where can I find the settings to turn off anonymous responses? We're trying to see if we can trick you. Does this one trick you?
I know. It's been a minute since I've messed around with that, so I have to defer. I have to look at that. And I might have said the wrong thing a minute ago when I said that you might not be able to turn it off for customer voice. I haven't messed around with the settings for a few months here, so.
Well, that can be your next blog, Chad.
Yeah.
How to change that.
And hopefully my computer's performance is struggling right now, so hopefully I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we've done any other questions so far, but I do have one for you. Are there any common issues when connecting to customer voice data through Power BI? Seeing you just touched on that a little bit in the end.
Yeah, so with Power BI, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. My computer.
Oh no, Chad's gone. Dang it, I was really interested in his response. Let's see if he makes it back. Bye, Chad. Yep. All right. Well, looks like we have 2 minutes. We'll see if we get him back. I was wondering about that door behind him also. We should ask him what that is. I don't know the answer to my question that I asked. That's why I asked it. Any other questions for me? All right. We'll see. All right. Well, Chad did a great session on surveys. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it. I don't know if he's going to make it back. I guess we'll see. It's only a good show if he has the disappearing act, right?
Hey, I'm back.
Oh, there he is.
I told you my computer is struggling. I don't know why. So anyway, thanks for all the
answer for my question about Power BI.
What's that?
Do you have a quick answer for my question?
Well, what was your question?
Issues connecting customer voice through Power BI.
Cut that whole thing off. So you have to use import if you want to parse JSON. You can't do a direct query. And then if you try to import the contact and activity party tables, like some Microsoft documentation suggests, if you got a big environment, it won't work. So you can get around that by not importing those, or if you do, you have to filter heavily. So
awesome. Thanks, Chad. Well, everyone loved your disappearing act, so
thank you. Thank you for the encouragement, the presence, and everything. I love everything going on in the chat. And yeah, Melissa's gonna teach us how to be a badass BA in a little bit. So
yeah,
stick around for that.
Exactly. Sounds awesome. Good. Thanks, Chad. Awesome job.
Well, I appreciate it, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks for the questions. Thank you again to the sponsors and for making this happen. Perfect. All right. See you, everyone.